Barbara Jones, this is my bank card. The password is 131224. You can buy whatever you need for the house. It had been hours, and I still remember when my new husband swords when he handed me the card before leaving for work this morning. To be honest, I knew very little about my husband. I know nothing about him except that he personally told me his name was Leo Young. I didn't even know much about his family. I didn't know why he was so courageous as to marry a man he had only met twice before. 10 days ago, with the help of my best friend Frida Lawrence, I met this man called Leo after several blind dates. I didn't fave any hopes. After all, after being framed 3 years ago, I didn't fave the qualification to be picky. I could only be picked by others. I arrived 15 minutes early if I could gain an advantage with my own conditions. I could only perform better in other aspects, hoping to leave a good impression. If I could meet the right man, I could marry myself off and reassure my parents. The man arrived neither too early nor too late. He was dressed in a suit and looked very formal. Made others feel that he attached great importance to this blind date, making me feel that he was very nice. His greeting was also very normal. Miss Barbara, hello, I am Leo. His voice sounded extremely magnetic, which made me have a better impression of him. After a simple and ordinary conversation, we politely left our phone numbers before leaving, having had many blind dates. I didn't take this one seriously. I thought it would end up the same as before, but unexpectedly, I received a call from Leo 2 days later. His voice still sounded polite and respectful. Miss Barbara, are you free tonight? That night, Leo invited me to a restaurant for dinner. I didn't really like such an awkward situation as a blind date, so I spoke very little during the banquet. I looked a bit squeamish after the meal and hadn't eaten enough. I originally wanted to find an excuse to leave first. After some hesitation, Leo spoke up first. Miss Barbara, I will be free next Wednesday. How about going to get the marriage certificate? What? What kind of certificate? I was shocked by Leo's words. The marriage certificate, he repeated seriously, which didn't sound like a joke at all. The marriage certificate. I still couldn't believe what I had heard. It pinched my leg hard, confirming that I wasn't dreaming. Only then did I seriously look him up and down. Leo looked so handsome that he could be recognized in the crowd. He looked very serious and didn't seem like an impulsive person. It was only the second time we met, and he had said that he wanted to marry me. Then the man said softly, I think your thoughts are the same as mine. Purpose of dating is to form a family, marry and have children, and live a normal life. That's right, I think so. But it's suddenly the second time we met. Don't I think that's still fast? I told him my own thoughts. I wanted to have a family of my own, but I didn't expect him to be so hasty. Leo still looked calm as he continued. After our first meeting, I coincided read for 2 days. You made a good impression on me. I personally feel that there is no conflict between our personalities, so I wanted to give it a try. I slightly frowned and was a little displeased. Marriage is not a game in my opinion. Try it. If it doesn't go well, do you want to? Before I finished, Leo interrupted me. Miss Barbara, we are all adults. Naturally, we won't expect a love that doesn't exist. We know exactly what we want. I didn't treply. I stared straight at Leo. He looked calm and unassuming, as if he was a good match for marriage. However, could I really give the rest of my life to a man I had only met twice? Noticing my hesitation, Leo continued. Perhaps it was too unshy. You didn't consider your feelings. If you think that I am still okay, you can go back and think about it. I'll wait for your call. After returning home that day, I had been thinking about it the entire night. I admitted that I shared some views with Leo, such as the impossibility of love. After being so deeply hurt, I could no longer believe that there was love in the world. The next morning, I dialed Leo's number and agreed to his proposal. I took the household register in the morning, and we went to the marriage registration office to register in the afternoon. When Leo and I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau with our marriage certificates, I felt weird. It was said that marriage was a woman's second life, and now it seemed that it was not as simple as it seemed. The cheap certificate had carved a special imprint that belonged to Leo in my life. Yesterday was the day I moved to Leo's apartment. Last night, Leo was very gentle. He took the initiative to leave the master bedroom for me to rest. While he rested in the other bedroom, I never thought that Leo would actually give his bank card to me before he left for work today. I still didn't understand him. How could he be so confident to hand over all his PS sessions to me. Barbara, all the reporters from the major media are waiting inside. Staff from the board of directors and the new president will be here soon. What are you doing? Rita, the manager of the public relations department, interrupted my thoughts. I quickly recovered myself and straightened up my attitude. Rita, I'm sorry. I will pay attention. Rita looked at me and said sternly, Barbara, although you are from the business department, since your manager has sent you here to assist our public relations department, you better stay alert and don't drag me down. I pursed my lips and nodded. Rita, I was distracted just now, it won't happen again. Rita looked at me again before she looked away. She then clapped her hands and called the staff who were in charge of receiving the guests to come over. Everyone keep your spirits up, today's press conference must be wonderful. We can't afford even the slightest mistake. Yes. The staff of the public relations department replied in unison. Rita noticed me in the end. Barbara, I heard that you are the best employee in your profession. In a while, you will follow beside the new CEO and take charge of his work. You don't have to worry about other matters. I nodded, but before I could reply, Sally, an employee of the public relations department, gloated at me. Barbara, if our new CEO is not married yet, will you get to him first? Rita GLA read at Sally. Today might be related to our future. You guys better be more serious. After being scolded by Rita, no one made a sound. I quietly took a deep breath, trying to do my best at work. No wonder Rita was nervous. This matter happened so suddenly. Just when everyone thought that the company was at peace, the board of directors suddenly released a message that the chief executive officer was going to be taken over by a new person. However, the incoming big boss was extremely mysterious. I was not a person who liked to participate in the fun, but I couldn't help but look at the entrance, wanting to see who this big boss was. He's here. All the directors and the new CEO are here. The receptionist told all the staff through walkie-talkies. The colleagues couldn't help but straighten their clothes and respectfully stand at their posts. I followed closely behind Rita, welcoming the mysterious big boss that everyone was waiting for. After taking a few steps, I saw a man wearing a silver gray suit. He was escorted by a few men in black suits. The man walked towards the release hall gracefully. I was stunned. The tall man who walked right in front of the crowd and wore a silver gray suit was clearly my newly wedded husband Leo. Impossible. I couldn't believe it. I immediately closed my eyes and shook my head to wake myself up. But when I opened my eyes and looked again, that man was still him. If it were someone else, I might have been mistaken, but this man was my newly wedded husband. I couldn't be mistaken. He was tall and strong. He walked graciously, no matter in what way. The man was exactly the same as my newly wedded husband. Leo, I glared at the man and subconsciously called out his name. He seemed to hear my voice and lightly looked at me. I was so nervous. I would never have thought that my newly wedded husband would turn into my company's new CEO. I looked at him, and my mind was in a mess. He looked at me for a moment before looking away. He looked so cold, as if he didn't know me at all. He looked so indifferent, and I quickly felt sullen. He was Leo, my newly wedded husband. Why was he looking at me coldly? Rita forcefully pulled me and called me in a low voice. Barbara, what kind of occasion is this? What are you doing? I slightly came to my senses. Rita scolded me in a low voice. Hurry up and catch up. I nodded and quickly followed the new CEO. At the same time, I had already hidden my emotions and then leisure. Ly faced this big boss who looked like my newly wedded husband. Rita quickened at her pace and caught up with them, opening the door of the reporter reception hall for them. Welcome our new director. Just after Rita said loudly, there was enthusiastic applause in the huge conference hall. Everyone stared at the entrance, waiting for the mysterious big boss to show up. I quietly took a deep breath and followed close Ly behind the big boss. When the big boss sat down, Ly handed over the information he had prepared. Even with my professional accomplishment, the fact that the company's new boss was my newly wedded husband still had too much impact on me. I accidentally trembled, and 2 materials in my hand fell off. Just as he was about to squat down and pick up the falling folder, Leo bent down to pick it up before I could, and then he whispered, "Wait for me at home tonight." If Leo had not said this, I could still forcefully take him as someone who looked the same as my husband. Upon hearing that, I dumbfoundedly forgot what to do. Fortunately, all of the reporters' attention was not on me. giving me some time to calm down. After the press conference, I returned to the business department. My colleagues were all discussing the new CEO, but it stood silent. If they found out that my name was on his marriage certificate, would I be killed by these women? The day finally passed in a tense and uneasy state. I wasn't ready to leave until my colleagues got off work. When the day's work was over, how should I face Leo tonight? I really didn't know whether or not I should return home. After leaving the company, I walked for a while before remembering that I was living with my newly wedded husband. Leo's apartment wasn't far from the company. I decided to walk home. As I could think about us along the way, returning to the housing estate, I decided to buy some vegetables and meat from the fresh supermarket. Whatever happened, the most important thing was to eat. I didn't know what Leo liked to eat, but I was worried he couldn't pick up the phone expediently, so I put my phone back. After choosing the ingredients, I carried them and went home. I was still keeping quite a distance from the elevator when I saw a strange but familiar man. He stood straight towards the elevator, wearing a light gray suit. He looked extremely charming. Leo stood perfectly straight. He was tall and looked perfect. I still couldn't understand such an outstanding man, and even the CEO of a large company. How could we have met each other? You read back. I walked over and greeted at him in the most normal way possible. Yes. Leo turned to look at me, but he looked calm. I smiled lightly and stood firmly by his side. I only glanced at him once and felt that this man meant to be different today. I glanced at him again. It turned out that he wore a pair of gold-framed glasses today. He looked much more stable and reserved. I sighed silently. This man only spoke a few more words during our second meeting. He usually said very little. I wanted to take the initiative and get closer to him, but I didn't know how to do it. Now that I knew of his shocking identity, I didn't know how I should approach him. Just as I was thinking, Leo suddenly reached out towards me. I instinctively took a small step back, keeping a distance from him. Leave it to me, he said lightly and took the bag in my hand optionally. I blushed. He had only wanted to help me carry the bag, but I was delusional. As Leo carried the bag powerfully, I felt warm. He was optimistic, even if there was no love between us. Even if he was the big boss of the company, as long as we managed this marriage attentively, we would still live a happy life. We entered the elevator, and neither of us spoke. Returning home, Leo placed the items into the kitchen and said indifferent "Ly, I don't really know how to cook. I'll be troubling you tonight. Go ahead. Just leave it to me." I put away the bag, took off my jacket and put it on. "Thank you," he said lightly. "You read too polite." I smiled awkwardly. We were already husband and wife, but we got along like two strangers. It took it for granted that a wife should cook for her husband, but he talked to me in this manner, which virtually made us become strangers. I thought that even if it was a marriage without love, we shouldn't get along in such a strange way. Without another word, I turned and entered the kitchen. I neatly steamed rice and cooked and washed the vegetables. After a while, I saw him standing at the entrance of the kitchen. "What's wrong? If there's anything you need my help with, just let me know." Leo stood there, straight and upright. He looked calm, but he looked a little embarrassed. "Just wait a little longer. I'll be ready soon." I looked at the clock on the wall. It was already 7 in the evening. So he was probably hungry. It had that he had to come straight back from work tomorrow. I would finish the meal early, and when he returned home, he would eat the food I cooked. No matter who Leo was, this marriage was chosen by myself. I had to try my best to live a good life. I placed 2 dishes and a soup on the table. "Leo, you can eat now." I carefully knocked on the door of the study. In the study room, Leo was currently on the phone. "You handle all of these matters. You don't have to report everything to me." With that, he immediately hung up. When he looked up, he saw me and then asked coldly, "What's the matter? You can eat now." I laughed and didn't dare look at him. "I'm coming," he said indifferently. We sat opposite each other, earnestly eating. Neither of us spoke, and the atmosphere was tedious for a moment. There were several times I wanted to talk. As Leo was indifferent, I gave up. After the meal, Leo took the initiative to help me wash the dishes, and I didn't reject him. He was willing to share the housework with me, so why not? Leo looked clumsy, so he must not have done these things before. But that's right. How could a CEO from such a large company do such trivial things like washing dishes? "Pa, Hearing the sound of the porcelain bowl shattering, I immediately stood up and walked over. I noticed that Leo was staring at the shattered porcelain pieces on the ground. Let me do it. I walked over and wanted to take the bowl from Leo's hands. No need. Let me do it. Leo moved his hand away from mine, but his tone sounded the same. Leo, actually. I stared at Leo and couldn't finish my words. So I nodded and left the kitchen, allowing Leo to continue. Although we were a couple, I was still not very familiar with him. I wanted to know him, to know everything about him, and to be as good a wife as I could. However, as I considered his status, could I still approach him with the same thoughts he had when we got married? I sat down in the living room, picked up the remote control, and switched on the television, picking out a random news channel. While watching TV, I would occasionally look towards the kitchen. Through the glass door, I could see Leo seriously and wholeheartedly washing the dishes. I secretly sighed. So it turned out that this man could be so funny. When he washed dishes, maybe because he had been watching, Leo suddenly turned around. We looked at each other. Leo looked cold. He just smiled. Seeing that he had been caught red-handed, I blushed as I was caught peeping him, but I still smiled politely. I turned to watch TV, but all it had about was him. This man was so charming, not only in his work but also in washing dishes. When could I see his discomfiture? After cleaning up the kitchen, Leo returned to the hall and found me in a daze. He stared at me and spoke after a few seconds. Barbara. Leo was calling out my name. I felt very pleasant, and for a moment I blushed. Leo sat on the sofa on the other side. There are some things that I want to discuss with you. All right. I replied. I was just about to talk to him. I wanted to take this opportunity to clarify. Leo examined me and frowned, and then he slowly spoke. Barbara, today at the company, I understand that there is a clear distinction between the public and the private. Actually, I don't want to let people in the company talk behind us just about our personal relationship. Before Leo could finish, I interrupted him. He had worked hard at this company for 3 years in order to achieve my current results, and I still wanted to rely on my own to continue promoting. I didn't want to change because of Leo. Leo looked calm. He said, regarding the identity of being the CEO of the company, I do not intend to hide it from you. When you were in such an occasion today, I didn't know what you were thinking, so I didn't announce it to the outside world. However, that doesn't mean that I want to hide this matter. I know. I nodded and said to me, work and life are completely separate. I do not want to bring my personal life to work. The matter that we got our marriage certificates was just something between us. I thought that there was absolutely no need to specially announce it to the company. For one thing, I didn't want my job to be affected. Second delay, I wasn't sure how long I could be with Leo. As I was firm, he paused for a bit then said, have you told your family about our marriage? I shook my head, as I did not want to talk about my family. I've just taken over the company, and there are some things I need to deal with by myself if you don't mind. I wish to go with you to visit my wife's parents after I finish my work. He was calm, as if he had expected that I didn't mention this matter to my family yet. No need. I rejected him immediately, but felt that it was inappropriate, so I quickly explained. He had some problems with my family. I have not contacted them for a long time. Let's talk about it later. Family. Every time I thought of this word, I felt very sad. As early as 3 years ago, that family was no longer mine, and I could no longer go back. Barbara. Leo deeply called out my name and said, from now on, you are no longer alone. You have me. Leo's voice sounded indifferent, but he had a nice voice. I felt different. These words were clearly not words of love, and it made me confused. Although I persevered through the years, I still couldn't help feeling sad when thinking about that matter at night. I also silently shed tears. Barbara. After being silent for a while, Leo spoke again. We are already husband and wife. I sincerely wish to live a lifetime with you. I did not expect Leo to suddenly say this, which made me stunned. He looked sincere, and I looked at him. I've also made up my mind to live with you for the rest of my life. Leo stared at me. He paused for a few seconds and said, then Barbara, can you promise me that no matter what happens, you will not easily ask for a breakup? Yes. I nodded heavily. I will try my best to be a qualified wife. I will not easily mention breaking up with him. It was what I was thinking. Now that Leo had personally said it, I felt at ease. Leo and I looked at each other, and once again, the atmosphere became awkward because we didn't know what to say. You do your job first. I still have some matters to deal with. He was always optimistic, but somehow the moment I met Leo, I was at a loss for what to do. All right. Leo nodded and walked towards the study room. I glanced at him, then returned to my room to prepare the information I needed for tomorrow's work. The Grand Corporation project took about half a month to bid, and our company obtained the tender project with absolute superiority. In order to reward everyone, the company organized a two-day trip to Bentley. When they heard this news, everyone in the company boiled over. Bentley was a top tourist leisure industry. While her colleagues were thinking about this question, I was also thinking about Leo. Leo had been out on a business trip this week, and it had been a few days since I last saw him. That night, I asked Leo if he would participate. He said he wasn't interested, but when he saw my disappointed expression, he changed his mind. The next day, he appeared at the event, and everyone was shocked. He even participated in a game with me, and when we lost, he protected me from being splashed with ice water, getting himself completely drenched. I was worried he would catch a cold. I found a quiet place and sent him a message. Remember to take a hot shower. Do not catch a cold. At that time, with no one around, Sally appeared and started insulting me. Someone really can't change her nature. If she doesn't hook up with Armand every day, she'll feel uncomfortable all over. I normally didn't care about Sally, but I wasn't someone who could be easily bullied. I confronted her, but then Leo appeared. He looked at Sally, called delay, and said one word, "Scram." After Sally left, Leo walked towards me. He was a little perturbed. I wanted to explain what happened just now, but before I could say anything, Leo said, "I know you're not making trouble." I looked up at him and pursed my lips. What if I am making trouble and bullying others? Without even thinking, Leo said, "In the company, your backer is the CEO. Only you can bully others. How can I let others bully you?" "Thank you," I said softly. I thanked him for standing behind me and supporting me without asking any questions. Thank me for what? Leo frowned and said, "Isn't the relationship between husband and wife about mutual trust and help?" I frowned and laughed. I felt really good being trusted and supported silently. I felt warm, but soon, the peace was shattered. The Grand Leader, Mr. Robert, wanted to discuss the project with me. When I arrived at his office, I was shocked by the other person present. It was Claire Smith, the man from my past, my ex-fiancé, the one who had destroyed my life 3 years ago. Seeing this face that was so familiar, all sorts of bad memories flooded into my heart like flood water, ruthless Ly tearing the scar that had just healed. I wanted to turn around and leave, but the heavy pain from the past stopped me. Claire smiled and said, "Mr. Robert, I presume this is the Miss Jones that you have praised many times." His voice, especially the words Miss Jones, immediately cleared my mind a little. "Yes, Mr. Smith." Robert nodded. "Miss Jones, this is Mr. Smith. He wants to hear what you think about this project." I clenched my fists and quietly took a deep breath, trying my best to maintain a professional smile. "Mr. Smith, hello." During my explanation, Robert was called away. When I found out, the only people left in the office were me and Claire. The smile on my face disappeared. I stood up and was about to leave. Claire's movements were much faster than mine. He stretched out his long arm and pulled me into his embrace. Barb! I struggled out of his embrace with all my might. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, my eyes were cold. "Sir, please be self-respecting." After throwing those words, I turned around and was about to leave when the man stretched out his hand to grab my wrist once more. "Barb, this matter has already been 3 years. Are you still resenting us?" I wanted to shake off his hand, but his strength was too strong. "Sir, please let go of me, or else don't blame me for being ruthless." He didn't pay any attention to what I had said as he said affectionately, "Barb, sit down and let's shave a good chat. I told you to let go." I bit my lips, turned my head and blinked a few times, forcing back the tears. He pulled me into his embrace once again and hugged me tightly. Barb, I strove for a long time but still couldn't struggle free from him. Seeing that he had quieted down, he pushed me out of his embrace and placed his hands on my shoulders. "Barb, I'm here to pick you up. Go back with me. Your parents and your sister are very worried about you." Hearing his words, I suddenly calmed down and abnormally said, "Calm, Ly. Who are you? What right do you have to say that to me? Would I be able to go back? 3 years ago when they had abandoned me, they should have known that they would never be able to return to the original world." "Don't call me that. if you call me that. It will only make me sick. I interrupted him and suppressed the pain in my heart. I tried my best to calm down as I said, I am living a good life now. Please do not appear in front of me and disturb my life again. Are you doing well? He reached out his hand to pinch my chin, forcing me to raise my head and meet his gaze. Barb, if I didn't intentionally give you the grand project, do you really think that with your tiny company, you could stand out among dozens of companies and win the grand standard project? I bit my lips and looked at him coldly. His words were like a steel knife that stabbed deep into my heart, forcefully cutting off my pride in my work. Over the past 3 years, I had worked hard, lived hard, and got everything by my own efforts. However, after working hard for so long, this was the answer I received. It was not that my hard work had paid off, but over the past 3 years, I had been playing around in his hands like a clown. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Then I smiled. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your good intentions. I thank you, on behalf of my company staff. Barb, I did all this for you. He raised his hand to touch my face, but before he could do so, I slapped him away. I clenched my teeth. Don't touch me. You read dirty. With these harsh words, I turned and walked to the door. I reached out my hand to twist the handle, but the door had already been locked from the outside. I turned and glared red at him. What on earth are you trying to do? Barb, I won't hurt you. The man approached me again. I just want to hug you and feel that you really exist at my side. I leaned on the wall and moved to the left, wanting to increase the distance between the two of us. However, the man was not in a rush and slowly approached me. I was very angry as I grabbed the ashtray on the table and said, I told you not to come over. The man smiled and said confidently, I know you don't want to hurt me. I always knew you loved me so much. How could you possibly hurt me? When he once again stretched out his hand to me, I didn't even think too much but raised the ashtray in my hand and smashed it towards the man's head. The man's forehead was cut open, and blood was dripping down from it. Pain and continued to smile at me. Barb, I know you're still angry at me, so I'll let you hit me. But when your anger is gone, go back with me. I was shocked. I shouted, Claire, you madman, what are you trying to do? Claire suddenly laughed. Barb, I like it when you call my name that way. This is the most real you. Shut up. I never wanted to have anything to do with you in my life. I clenched my fists tightly, my nails digging into my palms. Barb, you won't be able to escape as long as I don't let you go. You'll never be able to escape. Claire smiled. Then he fell to the ground. I trembled in fear. Claire. Someone finally opened the door and came in. Seeing Claire on the ground after getting injured, the group of people all started to panic. I heard someone shouting, Mr. Smith is injured. Quickly send him to the hospital. Even heard someone calling the police. The next thing I knew, I was taken to the police station. I was locked up in Asmo's cold room. I heard the police discussing that Claire was not willing to let me take responsibility. Not only did he not hold me accountable, but he also asked them to arrange a private room for me. However, from what I heard, he asked them to detain me for 2 days to teach me Allah's son. I understood his intention. Firstly, he wanted to let me know that I was just an Asmo employee. I hurt him, but he didn't pursue my criminal responsibility. He only locked me up for 2 days, which was a huge gift from him. Secondly, he had to let me know whether I was in London or Barcelona. As long as he was not willing to let go, I would not be able to escape from his grasp. I wrapped my arms around myself, burying my head in my lap, as if that would make my heart feel less uncomfortable and less cold. Mr. Zero, why are you here personally? The guard's respectful and panicked voice reached my ears, but I was not in the mood to care about. An especially loud slap broke the silence in the room, followed by a deep and angry roar from the middle-aged man. How dare you lock her up? Immediately after, I heard the sound of running, unlocking the door, and then heard the respectful tone of the middle-aged man. Mr. Young, it's my men who were incompetent. Please forgive us. Hearing the words Mr. Young, my body trembled slightly. I slowly raised my head and saw Leo standing in front of the middle-aged man. He was still dressed in his handmade silver gray suit, with a polite smile on his face. He took large strides to my side, stroked my head, and softly called my name. Barbara. Leo's voice was gentler than any other time he had ever heard it. Leo strongly pressed me into his embrace, and a palm gently caressed my back. Sorry, I came late. I never thought that Leo would appear here at this time. However, I didn't allow myself to show any sign of weakness. I raised my head to look at him and smiled. Didn't I say you'd be back tomorrow? Why did you come back earlier? Leo had seen through my strong pretense, but he did not reveal it. Instead, he said, I'll bring you home. I pushed him and raised my head from his embrace. I hurt someone. I can't go back with you now. Go back first. I'll be fine. Claire's personality was something I understood quite well. After locking me up for 2 days, his anger would dissipate. If Leo took me away at this time, it would be equivalent to offending Claire. Then, the result of this matter would be unimaginable to me. Leo had just taken over the position of CEO. If Claire were to come out now, Leo's future prospects would be ruined. I felt that this matter was a personal grudge, and I did not want to implicate Leo. Seeing Leo's sullen face, I pushed him and said, Leo, I'm really fine. You should hurry up and leave. Leo stared at me coldly and asked solemnly, Barbara, do you know what husband means? Perhaps to me, the word husband was only a name on my marriage certificate, but to him, the word husband was a lifetime of responsibility. You re my husband. I didn't know what he meant, but I was worried that I would implicate him. I pushed him away. Leo, listen to me, or else something bad will happen. Leo didn't speak anymore. He held me up and turned to leave. On the way back, I tried to communicate with Leo several times, wanting him to know the seriousness of the situation. However, the moment I opened my mouth, I was immediately scared stiff by a cold GR from Leo. When we reached home, I tugged on his sleeves and carefully spoke. Leo, just listen to me this once. Don't interfere in this matter. It's not something that you can meddle in. Leo looked at me, reached out, and held the back of my head, allowing me to look at him in the eyes, and said, Barbara, believe me, these few simple words seem to carry an unending amount of power, pouring into my body bit by bit. My pale white face also slowly recovered some color. After that night, Leo went on another business trip. I was busy with a new project. At noon, Jack asked me to have lunch together. I agreed, hoping to make him understand that I was married and not to misunderstand me anymore. Just as we sat down, my phone rang. It was Frida. She was helping me pretend I was talking to my husband, but just as I hung up, another call came in, this time from my real husband Leo. Hello, I answered. Leo said softly, he had someone prepare lunch. Why didn't you go over? I couldn't reply that I was already eating, because the moment I said that, I would reveal myself in front of Jack immediately. I clenched my teeth and said sweetly, hubby, I will take good care of myself. Don't worry about me. When I said that, Leo kept silent for a long time. It was so silent that it thought Leo had hung up. After a long while, as I didn't hear Leo speak, I finally realized that things were in a bad way. After a long while, Leo said softly, I will go back on Thursday. Take care of yourself. All right. I felt relieved. Fortunately, Leo would be back in a few days. He should have forgotten about it when he returned. Jack felt very sad when he heard me call him husband, and only when I hung up did he say, Barbara, are you married? I nodded and said, it should not be strange for me to get married at my age. Jack had prepared so much that he couldn't say anything. He could only laugh dejectedly. Bless you. That night, I didn't feel that I was very quick-witted. When I slept soundly at night, I felt that there was someone sitting beside me. I was still very sleepy, but the moment I smelled the familiar scent of almond, I was instantly scared awake. I suddenly sat up, rubbed my eyes, and looked at the man sitting on the bedside. Surprisedly, you say? You wouldn't be back until Thursday. However, Leo replied indifferently, I have something to deal with here. I'll fly back to California in the morning. His original work plan could only be completed on Thursday, but since he had already hinted that it missed him as her husband, he couldn't pretend that he didn't hear it. Remembering the call at noon, I scratched my head with a blush. Then, have you eaten dinner yet? Do you want me to cook some supper? He nodded. I'm a little hungry. I prepared noodles for him, and while he ate, I prepared some snacks for him to take on his trip early in the morning. He looked at me seriously. Thank you for thinking so carefully about me. It's what you said about couples having to take care of each other. I slapped his hand away and pouted. Don't keep rubbing my head. He rubbed my head the same way I rubbed my pet. Leo smiled slightly as he hugged me. What about this? I immediately blushed. I anxiously tried to push him away, but I was held even tighter by him. After sending Leo off, I also didn't want to sleep. So I decided to just get up and run in the morning and then rush back to the company. The next day, I was busy with work and didn't have time to eat lunch. In the afternoon, Amy gave me some opinions on my business plan. I made a huge change to it. It changed it many times. And when I finally made myself satisfied, it was already 7 o'clock in the evening, and then I remembered Leo. I saved the file and turned off the computer. I did not expect that the moment I raised my head, I would see Adol's figure standing in front of my desk. It was Leo when she didn't answer his call. He came here to wait for me. He had been standing there for at least 10 minutes. But I was too busy with my work to notice his presence. "Are you waiting for me to go home to cook?" I said while cleaning up. "Sorry, I forgot it when I was busy. Let's go outside and have some food." Leo didn't say anything as he reached out and dragged me away. This was still within the company. Although there was no one around, the company had monitoring systems. If people saw us, it would not be good. I wanted to shake him off but was dragged even tighter. He dragged me into the CEO's private elevator and went straight to the underground parking lot to get into his car. I sat obediently in the front passenger seat and turned to look at Leo. Seeing his cold expression, he gave off a very serious feeling, causing me to subconsciously move towards the car door. Leo suddenly rushed towards me sideways. I dodged instinctively, hit my head with a thud on the car door, and gasped in pain. "Don't move." Seeing that I had hit my head, Leo's face darkened and quickly helped me buckle up. "Come over here. Let me see." I originally wanted to refuse, but seeing his cold expression, I didn't dare to refuse, so I could only obediently approach him with our face. So it turned out that Leo's pounce was purely because he wanted to buckle my seatbelt, and I thought too much. I bowed my head and bit my lip when it hot that I was being seen through by Leo. I felt Leo brush away my hair and lightly press his finger on my head, as if he was very serious about seeing if I was injured or not. In the next second, I felt that something was wrong. His long and slender fingers moved down from my head to my face, moving around my cheeks. Leo's fingered IP movements were very light and gentle, making others feel as if he was stroking a top-quality gem. I was so scared that my breathing stopped. My heart thumped loudly. I closed my eyes, not daring to look at him. However, before Leo could make his next move, I blinked my eyes. I wanted to see what exactly he was doing. With that glance, I saw Leo's handsome face approaching me, and his warm lips lightly pressed against mine. He only lightly kissed me, then let me go, and said with his incomparably alluring sexy voice, "Is it okay now?" What? I couldn't react to what he meant, and only after a long time did I understand. This man thought that I was waiting for him to kiss me. I clenched my fists and resisted the urge to hit him. Since he thought I was waiting for him to kiss her, then I reached out to unbuckle the seat belt and rushed up, my pink lips pressing heavily against Leo's lips, staying for a few seconds. Lasted longer than Leo kissed me, as if fighting with Leo. Then it quickly left, returning to my seat and buckling it. I wanted to pretend that nothing had happened, but I couldn't help but blush even more. Before Leo started the car, he lightly stroked the corner of his lips and smiled lightly. Such aim finally looked a bit like 3 years ago. The car rolled slowly out of the parking lot and quickly merged into the noisy traffic of the city. However, the interior of the car was very quiet. I sat upright and looked out of the window. I didn't dare to look straight at Leo, but I couldn't help but look at him. Secret ly. He was very serious as he drove, looking straight ahead, as if what had just happened had never happened. The days passed peacefully. Leo and I grew closer, and I began to truly believe that I could have a happy life with him. But the past was not done with me yet. At the company's year-end dinner, everything fell apart. I was sitting with my colleagues when suddenly, the big screen on the wall changed from the company's promotional video to something else. Photos started flashing on the screen. Photos of me and Leo together, looking intimate. Photos of us holding hands. Photos of him looking at me gently. Photos of us kissing. The room went silent. Then more photos appeared. Photos from 3 years ago. Photos of me with Claire. Photos of me being helped into a hotel by an unfamiliar man. Screenshots of old news articles accusing me of seducing my sister, spy ants. All the lies, all the slander from 3 years ago was being played out on that screen for everyone to see. I sat frozen, my blood running cold. Around me whispers started. I knew there was something wrong with her. She's been chasing after the CEO this whole time. Shameless, Sally's voice rang out loudly. A shameless bitch like her still has the face to sue other people. There really is any to pursue the matter. Then the person accused would also be her. I stood up. I wouldn't let this happen again. I wouldn't be the victim this time. But before I could say anything, a familiar voice cut through the chaos. What's going on here? Everyone turned. Leo stood at the entrance, flanked by his assistants. He walked through the crowd, his eyes fixed on me. Everyone made way for him. His gaze never left mine. He came to my side and lightly called my name. Barbara. I couldn't look at him. I was afraid of seeing contempt in his eyes. But he gently cupped my face in his hands and made me look at him. I'm with you. He kissed my forehead. Barbara, look at me, Sally shouted again. Chairman Young, look at the big screen. Look at what kind of woman she is. Leo glanced at her, and his gaze was like ice. Todd. His assistant immediately stepped forward. Chairman Young, I will have someone investigate everything that has happened today. Madam's reputation can't be slandered by these petty people. Madam, everyone heard it. Could it be that Barbara is? Leo looked at me. I finally met his eyes. It tried to smile, but tears fell instead. Seeing my tears, his expression softened. He kissed them away, one by one. Then he straightened up and scanned the room. His voice was cold as steel. Anyone involved in slandering my wife will face legal consequences. My wife. He said it. In front of everyone. I tried to stand, but my ankle, twisted in the commotion, gave way. Leo immediately knew. LT on one knee in front of me, took off my high heels, and gently examined my foot. Then he stood up, lifted me into his arms, and carried me out of the room. I buried my face in his chest, tears streaming down my face. But for the first time in 3 years, they weren't tears of pain. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of love. 3 years ago when that scandal broke, no one stood by me. I was alone. But now, I had Leo. And he was willing to be my strongest supporter. After that night, everything changed. The truth about my past came out. And those who had slandered me faced consequences. Sally was fired and prosecuted. Amy, who had been behind it all, was also let go. The company supported me, and more importantly, Leo supported me. I finally gathered the courage to tell him everything about Claire, about Alice, about my family. He listened quietly, and when I finished, he simply held me and said, "Your past has nothing to do with me. I only care about your future." Our future. I resigned from the company to pursue my dream of fashion design with Frida. Leo supported my decision completely. We were finally truly happy, but Claire wasn't done with me yet. The morning we were leaving for the design studio, a car blocked our path. Men in masks forced open our car door and dragged Frida and me into their vehicle. I knew immediately who was behind it. When the masks came off, Claire's face confirmed my fears. He looked at me with obsession in his eyes. "Barbara, you should have been mine. I won't let Leo have you." Frida screamed at him, but he ignored her, his gaze fixed on me. I felt fear, but also anger. How dare he do this? Meanwhile, Leo had already noticed my disappearance. He called the inspector immediately. "Claire has abducted my wife alongside her best friend Frida. Take care of him." "Sure. Mr. Young, we will track him down immediately. For the meantime, do not worry about anything. I assure your wife and her best friend will be fine." But Leo wouldn't just sit around. He put on his jacket and headed out to go after me himself. Before Claire could go any further, police surrounded his vehicle. He tried to escape, but they handcuffed at him and took him away. I saw Leo standing alongside the inspector and ran to him. We hugged each other as he wept bitterly. Leo felt a pain in his heart as he saw me cry. He wiped my tears away and placed his lips on mine. He wanted to resist the kiss, but he grabbed me even tighter and kissed me passionately. After a while, he removed his lips from mine and smiled at me. "Barbara, I am sorry I wasn't there to protect you. But I am making this promise now that till eternity, I will never leave your side for anything in this life. You are my responsibility, and I will protect you till the end. Barbara, I love you and I don't care what the world thinks of it. You are my life, my whole world, my eternity. You are the most beautiful thing that has ever happened to my life, and I cannot afford to let you slip away. I want you by my side, to grow old together, to spend eternity together. Barbara, you are my life." I pressed my lips into his, and both of us engaged in a passionate kiss. "Leo Young, I love you too. And I want nothing else in this world but you. I love you." We continued kissing while the people around us began to clap for us. "I have hidden your identity from the world and the office as my wife. But now is the right time to tell everyone who you are. I no longer want to hide you or keep you in the dark as my wife. You are Barbara Young, Mr. Young's wife." Of course, I said as they all continued to clap. Now we will both set up the designing studio and prove to the world how great you are, my love Barbara. Of course, I said as we all left back home. Over the years, my unique sense of style in fashion design attracted the attention of many people, making me more and more famous in the world. My fame had grown, but I remained modest and low-key, seldom appearing in the media. I never forgot the clients who initially admired my work. I always read the principle that one should never forget where one's shabbiness comes from. It was their appreciation of my work that gave me more opportunities, which made it possible for me to set up the world-famous JL clothing brand. Looking at the flashing lights below the stage at my new product launch, I wasn't excited. My heart was just heaving slightly as I saw my many supporters. I looked around, and when I caught sight of my family, I instantly became excited. Not only did Leo come to participate in the new product launch event, but Leo's parents also came. They were old and hardly participated in such crowded activities. However, in order to give me encouragement, they came. Jean and Cole, who usually hated this kind of activity, were also present. Jean also brought her boyfriend. My gaze fell on him. I kept looking at him, but he didn't seem to notice because all his attention was on Jean. I believed that it must be love if Armand's gaze was always on a woman. So I could rest assured to hand over my daughter to him. Jeffrey, I glanced at the man standing at the exit. He stood there quietly and smiled at me. The man who had disappeared for 2 or 3 years finally appeared. As soon as the event ended, I went to him. Jeffrey, where have you been in the past few years? Don't you know I'm worried about you? Look, I'm back. He avoided the topic and smiled. I'm hungry. Go and treat me to a big meal. Jeffrey, I asked you where you had been all these years. I didn't stop until I get the answer. I pulled and looked him up and down and said, are you really going to live like this for the rest of your life? Aren't you going to find a wife? Although there were more and more unmarried people now, and I knew that Jeffrey had his own plans, I couldn't help but nag in his ear. I didn't care if others would find a spouse to live with, but Jeffrey was my biological brother. He was his closest person. If I didn't persuade him, who else would? Jeffrey smiled helpless. I really want to find a sister-in-law for you. But after so many years of adventuring outside, I haven't met my destiny yet. You're so outstanding. No one fell in love with you. How could it be possible? I suddenly thought of something. Jeffrey, are you hiding something from me? Jeffrey was stunned and stammered. No. What can I hide from you? I looked at him and said, really? Jeffrey shook his head. Would you feel strange if I told you that the person I love is Armand? Don't tease me. I suddenly realized that it didn't seem to be a joke. It was very possible. Jeffrey, are you telling the truth? Of course not. Jeffrey smiled and said, since you're busy now, I'll go and find my dear Jean's boyfriend and have a good look. Being made fun of by Jeffrey, I was also speechless. Seeing him leave, I thought of Derek. Even Jeffrey, who hadn't shown up for 3 years, had come back to participate in the launch event. But where was Derek? What are you thinking? It was Leo's voice that pulled my thoughts back. I shook my head and said, I was just thinking about Derek. I wonder if he's living a happy life. Leo said he is already an adult. And we have seen his ability to do things. No matter where he goes, he can create his own world. Men were always much more rational than women. Leo didn't pay too much attention to Derek's departure because he knew that his son wouldn't make us worry. I know, but Leo held my hand and said, if you want to know about him, I'll have someone check it out another day. I shook my head. Forget it. Let's respect his choice. I think he'll come back one day. Leo held my hand and said, that's right. Let's go home. I nodded. Okay. Let's go. Early in the morning, the sun shone into the room through the window. I stretched and opened my eyes in a daze. As soon as my eyes opened, I instinctively looked to the window to find Leo. Beside the window, the man in a white shirt and black trousers quietly flipped through the newspaper. The sunlight shone on his body, making him look like an art piece. Many years ago, on the first morning we lived together, I also saw him sitting under the window, quietly reading the newspaper. When I opened my eyes, he sat still there, with the golden sun shining on his body, which looked quiet and beautiful. Over so many years, the world had changed. Every day, the people and things around me were changing. Only he didn't change. He was the same as many years ago. I could see him every day as soon as I opened my eyes. He let me know that he had always been with me, which was something I was grateful for.